Hi, Brendan Boyd. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing very well, thank you.
Welcome in, my friend. Look, a couple of weeks ago, Ralph Garman comes onto the show and he says, guys, Jesus Christ Superstars is touring again, touring the country with an unusual cast. And we said, tell us more. Jesus Christ Superstar, of course, the famous play from 40 years ago that Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice did. I mean, it's been playing continuously, but now there's a new production that's hitting the road. And we said, tell us about it. And he says, well, Michelle Williams from Destiny's Child is in it. Johnny Rotten is playing King Herod in the thing. J.C. Chazet from NSYNC is Pontius Pilate. And Brandon Boyd is playing Judas Iscariot. And we said, we know that dude.
We said, what? Casting.
And here he is. The most hated man in the history of the world, Judas, played by Brandon Boyd, joins us in studio.
That's exactly my reaction too when I got the call. I was like, "What?
Isn't there another role for me? A better role?"
I was so like weirded out and thrilled at the same time.
Yeah. Way to betray Jesus, first of all. Nice work with that.
Thank you.
So, Brandon, we're going to have a lot of people listening who may have heard the name Jesus Christ Superstar, but it doesn't mean anything to them. But it is one of the most successful plays of all time, right?
It is indeed. Yeah, and it's actually in a funny way, it's the only Andrew Lloyd Webber show I've ever seen, and I saw it when I was 16, I think, maybe earlier. But my parents were in musical theater when I was a kid.
Oh, is that right?
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And that's the only one you've seen?
That was, but I'm very familiar with not only the music of that one, but Cats and Phantom of the Opera, and because my parents were obsessed with that stuff.
So they played it
in the car, incessantly, and in the car, and on the piano at home, and it was just like that was Andrew Lloyd Webber was almost like this mythic figure in our house. So a couple of weeks ago in New York, a few weeks ago, when we were rehearsing for the press announcement, he would come up to the stage and give me little pointers and stuff, and I remember just being like, I'm trying so hard not to geek out on you right now.
That's difficult, isn't it, for somebody that you've respected for that long?
Yeah. I just wanted to like channel both my parents and like just jump onto him and like ride around the theater on his back for,
I'm guessing that wouldn't have been his favorite thing.
Nah.
No.
So, Brandon, forgive me if this is a dumb or insulting question, but can you act?
I don't know yet. I'm planning on finding out.
I mean, it's one thing to sing. You've got that. I have no doubts that'll be great. But you also have to act.
Yeah, the thing that I'm kind of, I guess, relying on is the fact that when I sing, I kind of lose myself, and it happens pretty quickly. If I know the lyrics and I believe the lyrics, I just let go into that. And
you sort of disappear.
You disappear into it, and I think maybe that's what acting is. I'll find out. Maybe I'll get on stage and it'll just be awful, which would be amazing in its own way.
Well, no, yeah, I guess, but not the way you want.
No, I know.
But I mean, this is a musical where everybody sings everything. There's very few actual spoken lines.
I don't think there are any.
There may not, yeah.
Yeah, unless they were just notes that were trailing off, but the entire thing is sung.
I don't say this with great pride, but I don't know anything about Jesus Christ Superstar.
May I tell you a couple of things? Okay. It's a version of the story of the last 7 days of Jesus' life, and it focuses heavily on the relationship between Judas and Jesus, and as well Mary Magdalene. But it's a really interesting story. We've been fighting over it for a couple thousand years, obviously.
That's true.
Why was Judas such a dick?
I wasn't there.
Like, what's his motivation? Like, Jesus was a cool dude. Why turn on him? Why try to get him in trouble?
My sort of take on the story, and this is not my Sunday school take on the story. This is sort of my more modern take. Is that these two were kind of like best friends, and they both had a mutual goal in mind to sort of bring up their community and rise above a lot of sort of things that were going on. And then I think Judas perhaps started to see things change. People get a little kooky around the idea of heaven and the afterlife, and quite literally too much heaven on their minds. And then so he felt like he had to put a stop to it. He had to like put a stick in the spokes, and it kind of backfired on him. But what's so interesting is that he's widely known as the great traitor in history, but I think it's so possible that he's maybe the most misunderstood person. We just sort of have accepted, oh yeah, he's the traitor, he turned in Jesus, but there's so much more nuance there.
And the Bible is an incomplete story too. It's not like there were a lot of texts alongside it to give context to some of the things in the Bible. So there's a lot we don't know, right?
I mean,
what happened to Judas after the crucifixion? Do we know that?
Just partied.
He partied, kind of burnt out along the way.
He's running a banana stand now.
Right. He may have started Birkenstock. No, he killed himself, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really? That's what happened to Judas?
Yeah. That's what they
Spoiler
say.
alert?
Yeah.
Tell me about Ben Forster. He's the name I don't know in your cast of Jesus Christ Superstar. He's playing Christ.
Yes. He has been playing Jesus in the most recent UK and Australia tour, which is actually what this tour is modeled on. So it's a very different show. The music is all the same from the original, but the setting is very different. The costumes are very different. It actually, what's so interesting about it to me is that it is so perfect for the time that we're in right now, sort of culturally.
When did this first come out?
The original came out, I think, in 1970.
70. So now this makes sense for 2014?
It really does, and it's almost strange how well the story fits in and the way that this story adapts to right now.
And what do you mean by that? What seems contemporary for you about this show?
The fact that it's a little bit like a majority versus the few, like a 99%, opposing the 1%. That's kind of, or the hippies versus the corporations, or the apostles versus the Romans, that kind of a thing. It's like the same story. We only have a finite number of stories in human beings.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting.
Is this essentially the same show that played on Broadway throughout the 1970s, or does Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice, do they kind of update the words and music along the way?
The words and music are the same, albeit a little more snappy and like tight and punchy, because it's in arenas. So it's like the band is crazy good, and it's really like, the one thing about the film and the original soundtrack was that it was kind of loose. I don't know if you guys remember. It's really kind of like loose around the edges, and it's cool for that reason. This is like a modern rock show.
Well, when you say you're playing arenas, listen to this. July 20th at the Honda Center in Anaheim. Tickets are on sale Friday morning at 10 for that, and that is going to be through Ticketmaster.com. And then on Saturday, July 26th, you're going to be at Staples Center. Tickets on that are at AXS.com. Again, they both go on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. You can see Brandon Boyd and the rest of the cast in Jesus Christ Superstar. Many more questions for Brandon when we return right after this on the Kevin and Bean Show on K-Rock.